Caracas may sound like the name of some traditional Spanish musical instrument, but it's actually the capital of Venezuela. With that important information out of the way, let's check out the stadiums and arenas of Caracas, Venezuela. Situated on the University of Caracas campus is Estadio Universitario, which opened in 1951, to host the Bolivarian Games that same year. This old ballpark is known as the Cathedral of Baseball in Venezuela. And by that, I don't mean that every Sunday some old man gets up on stage and reads from the baseball almanac. It is just heavily revered amongst the baseball fans of the country. Despite this, it's not even close to being the largest baseball stadium in the city in terms of capacity. Unlike the majority of modern ballparks, the capacity is evenly distributed throughout this place. By that I mean that the seating behind home plate rises just as high as the bare concrete terracing in the outfield. In those early days, I had yet to realise that the spectators want to be close to the action, and that the majority of the action happens within the diamond. Or more likely, it's just that building a multi-tiered stadium was too expensive and complicated back then. Either way, I'm glad architecture has moved on. But I'm also glad that this old ballpark is still around. Next door is Estadio Olímpico de la UCV, which was also opened in 1951 and was the main stadium at the aforementioned Bolivarian Games. It was the largest stadium in the city for a long time, but was recently usurped by another that we'll get to later on. However, I'd wager that it's still the busiest sports venue in Caracas, as it's home to not one, not two, not three, not five, not... Oh, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it is 5 clubs. Although the national team often plays here as well. Design-wise, this is rather nice, I suppose. The C-shaped stand that wraps its way around 3 sides of the ground is done up in a vibrant shade of green as well as a different shade of green. Although I will say that it has aged poorly. Here is a more recent shot. I guess the guy responsible for sourcing the seats found the cheapest ones he could on Alibaba, and kept the difference in cost for himself. Or, there wasn't enough money for decent seats to begin with. Overall, I still think it's a good looking stadium. Speaking of the 1951 Bolivarian Games, Brigador Iriarte, whom this stadium is named after, actually won a gold medal in the pole vault. He subsequently visited Warsaw to store his gold medal in a pole vault. Polls suggest that Polish-made vaults are the best, but polls are obviously biased towards pole vaults. Oh boy, I do talk a lot of crap, but the first part of that was true. Given who this place is named after, it should come as no surprise that this too doubles as an athletic stadium. And also, you can clearly see that there's a running track. Thankfully, the grandstands consist of steeply stacked double tiers, so the spectators in the back row will still get a good view of the action, I suppose. Whether it be football or pole vault. These sections of ramps are not so pretty, are they? But they do the job. People have got to get up to the upper deck somehow, and ladders weren't going to cut it. Poliedro de Caracas is the largest indoor arena in the city. It's notable for its dome of a roof, from which it derives its name. Poliedro meaning polyhedron. And I guess this is a polyhedron? I don't know, I didn't get up to the point in school where you learn shapes. I'm sure this building would have been quite special when it opened in the mid-70s, but by today's standards it's nothing too spectacular. Like a lot of arenas, it's a jack of all trades, having hosted everything from baseball to beauty pageants, bullfighting to bull respectfully debating. Look, I think this bull market will continue into Q2, all the signs point to it. Well, with all due respect, of course you would think that. I happen to be a little more pessimistic on the matter. I am a bear. That means you're gay. What is wrong with that? Nothing, I was just pointing it out. But yeah, despite being fairly old, this place has been kept up to date. I received the Senahong video board not all that long ago. Next door is Estadio Monumento de Caracas Simón Bolívar. When they broke ground on this ballpark in 2013, it was tentatively named after Hugo Chavez. It ended up taking 10 years to build. You probably won't be too surprised to hear that the delay was due to economic woes. They were largely caused by President Maduro, who allegedly held back 1/3 of the nation's annual oil production to be used on his mustache. People kept trying to tell him that it's a different type of oil that people use on their mustaches, but he was having none of it. The reason this ground was built in the first place was that Estadio Universitario was becoming too small to meet the needs of the Lions, and it couldn't be expanded due to its location on the campus of a university. It was designed so long ago that it predates the US sanctions in 2015, and it was actually designed by a US architect. The design does reflect that. I can't imagine there are many other South American cities where the largest stadium is a ballpark, come to think of it. That's the case in Havana, but Cuba isn't in South America. Banda Pascua's largest stadium is a ballpark, but I just made up that city, it's not real. But this does seem like a top-notch modern ballpark. Honourable mentions now. Velodromo Teo Capriles. I would have assumed that in such a humid tropical environment it would be a difficult task to keep the uncovered track in tip-top shape. Velodromes are usually made from Siberian pine, and the climate in Siberia is slightly different to that of Venezuela. Cocodrilo Sports Park is notable due to the fact that it's been carved into a heavily wooded hill overlooking the city. So there's a rock face on one side of the ground and a panoramic view on the other. So cool. It's actually the largest rectangular stadium in the city, if you can believe it. Estadio Independencia is the third ballpark of note in the city, but, well, it's a bit bush league compared to the others we've seen. That's okay. So there you have it. Time to pick a favourite, and it's got to be the new baseball stadium, which would have to be the most impressive ballpark on the continent. Unless you view America as just one continent, like most South Americans do. Now it's time for Extra Time. Joining me today is Pedro Almirez, who is actually responsible for maintaining Maduro's mustache. Pedro, nice to have you on. Firstly, tell me how you got the job.
Hello. Well, Mr. Maduro was visiting my town, and he needed an emergency mustache trim. So they called me up as I was one of the most well-known barbers in the town.
Okay, and is he a nice guy?
Yes.
Really? He doesn't ever kick up a fuss?
Well, there is just one thing that gets on my nerves.
Go on.
Every time I finish working on his mustache, he makes me...
Pedro? Pedro? Damn, I think he's been killed. I wanted to hear what he was going to say. Oh well. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.